I always have a few haters within a company who say, oh, you're going to change up things. I don't like that. Going to make me redundant. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to improve. And the time you have left, you can spend on better things instead of doing manual things. So I always try to keep a good positive impression that they call me back when they need me again. And that happens several times. But the same on LinkedIn, my presence. I try to be as much Patrick Kunz as possible as I can be. Sometimes that means I'm very serious, write about treasury stuff, blogs, etc., articles, and sometimes just having fun on the internet, which is also important, doing some mocking some people or at least having some fun out there. So yeah, I think that's a good advice for every treasurer. Be out there. We're not visible enough within the company. We're also not visible enough of our own brand.
Before we start, I want to highlight the biggest challenge I've noticed in the treasury industry. It's professionals finding it tough to build an impactful brand. That's exactly why I put together an ebook, Building and Managing an Impactful Professional Brand. It has helped over 100 professionals define their unique values and stand out in their careers. In this ebook, you'll find practical tips to build a strong network and sharpen the skills you need to succeed in this industry. And the best part? It's completely free. Grab your copy now by clicking the link in the description below. Hello, everyone. This is Ernie Humphrey. I'm your host for the Treasury Truth or Dare podcast. Today, I'm very excited to have with me Patrick Kunz. He's the founder of Pecunia Treasury and Finance and also Treasury Mastermind. So a very, very amazing opportunity to speak with a Treasury thought leader. So before we dive in, Patrick, why don't you give us a little bit about your background and what it is about Treasury that you find so fascinating?
Yes, thanks, Ernie. So I'm Patrick. For those that do not know me, I call myself the Treasury Guru on LinkedIn. A little bit of fun. I always say to clients, people who don't know me, Treasury is all I know. I've always been in Treasury, fell in love with it, the usual story. All jokes aside, I love doing Treasury. I wouldn't want to leave Treasury. That's all I do. I'm owner of Pecunia Treasury and Finance. That's my main business, Treasury consulting, interim management, implementations, and a bit of mentoring, the fun part. Treasury Masterminds on the side, social project, hobby, started out as one, escalated quite badly, and now grew into a full-blown community. Really online community for treasurers to meet, share thoughts, educate each other, and maybe later meet in real life. But let's see how that grows. So happy to be on your podcast, Ernie.
All right. Thank you very much. For those of you who haven't experienced the podcast just yet, the way the podcast works is we have a series of rounds where I ask my guests, they can select whether to share a Treasury Truth. It's more about a little question, and then a dare. So they want to share with us. They're willing to do a little bit of a dare, which gives us a little peek into what makes them tick and makes them unique. And through that process, one, we share some great Treasury insights, but we also share why Treasury is fun and why Treasury brand needs work and why Treasury is a great career for anyone. So Patrick, for round one, to kick us off, you're going to go for truth or you're going to just go right into a dare?
Let's start lightly. Let's start with truth.
All right. Well, this one, I know it's a big answer for you since you love Treasury, but what are the few areas of Treasury that you're really the most passionate about?
Yeah, I thought about this answer, and I couldn't really come up with an answer because Treasury is three things. It's cash management, it's FX risk management, and it's a bit of corporate finance, making sure that the money is there. Have to say the boring answer, cash management. Really making sure, as a treasurer, I need to make sure my money is at the right place at the right time and the right bank account in the right currency. That was maybe 10, 15 years ago that got us excited because it was still work. Now that can all be automated or at least be done in the first hour in the morning. So what really gets me excited, going outside of Treasury, talking to the non-treasurers, and talking to them why Treasury is important, not only within the company, but for the company as a whole. Maybe a bit for the bottom line, but also for our risk management. the often I have to get out and tell people, but I'm not involved in treasury, and I tell them, but you sell in foreign currency, or you enter into contracts which are non-functional currency. So indirectly, you impact me in treasury. And I like that the most, most exciting part. Get out of your ivory tower, get into the business. Treasury is a small team. Talk to the other people in finance.
Yeah, I love that dovetail on that a little bit. So that to me, it speaks to some of my other guests. We talk about we have to communicate the brand of Treasury within our organization to make sure that people understand right what we do, why we do it, and how we can all collaborate more effectively. And I've had people ask me, how do I do this? So I've actually worked with a few people. Do you work with companies or do you have presentations, or how do you communicate the value of treasury? What are some of the tools you use to actually do that?
It depends a bit on the size of the company I'm in. I think the biggest treasury team I was in ever was like 40 people. There was a 10 billion company. It was a bit easier there in a way, but in a way it was also more difficult because the treasury team itself was already fragmented. The FX team hardly knew what the cash management team was doing. So it was already a challenge within the treasury team. But on average, an average treasury team, 3 to 5 people, if even. So what you really need to do is go out there and do small steps. Do easy presentations. What does Treasury do? And start with the tax team, with the legal team, accounting, controlling team, because they should have a basic understanding of what Treasury does. But also go to the procurement teams, to the sales teams. Those also need to know who you are and what you do. That we're not these weird number crunchers sitting in an ivory tower in a very expensive suit. So presentations, go out there, have town hall meetings, present Treasury. And yes, it can be scary presenting for 200 people, but it shouldn't be because you know a lot about Treasury, so it should be easy to tell what a day in the life of a treasurer looks like. And only basic stuff, not a hardcore FX, colors, options, whatever difficult instruments. No, just how you manage the company's cash, really.
Yeah, I was fortunate younger in my career. We had a CFO that came up. He was a treasurer, so he had me do a presentation for the whole company on how we move cash around the whole world, and everybody had to kind of tune in. And so I had that advocate for me. So once you get kind of the CFO to get it, having that advocate can be really important. And after that presentation, as you've done, everyone's like, "Wow." They want to talk to you. They're like, "Well, I didn't know you guys did all this stuff." They see how we can work together. So thanks
Uh,
for that. All right, round two.
hopefully, yes.
Go round two. Truth or dare?
Let's go for there. Let's
All right,
spice
here
it
we
up.
go. I like this one. Please share with us your most embarrassing moment in your treasury career.
Yeah. It was my last role as a permanent treasurer. It's not really embarrassing, but it was a bit of a weird moment. It was way before COVID hit, so we were still working in office, but it was modern enough to not have a fixed spot sitting all together. So I was sitting at different spots every day. And that day, I knew I had to close a financing with a bank, 30 million, calling banks in competition and closing that deal. But that day, I happened to sit very close to credit control. And it was a social housing company. So just before I was calling all my banks, and I told the people around me, in 10 minutes would be nice if I'm calling banks, if you're not go crazy around me. But before that time, credit control was, they were doing their thing, calling late payers. And they had one client who really couldn't pay, couldn't afford. So they were making a deal with them. And it turned out the negotiation was, can you pay 50 euros a month? But then the negotiation went, no, I can't really do that. And I was following that. And I was like, oh my God. In the end, it was, no, 10 euros is not enough because you can never repay your 2000 debt, whatever. So they ended up 25 euros. I don't remember, 20 or 30 a month. So really proud of himself, credit control, finished the call. But then my turn came. I was calling banks and was talking about 30 million, 35 million, and what the interest rate would be. Deal was closed. Hang up the phone, and this credit control guy was really like, Patrick, did you just close 35 million? I was like, yes, that's my job. I'm the treasurer. That's what I do. It's for 30 years though. We're paying 4% interest. And he was like, but yeah, I just spent a half an hour on the phone to get 25 euros a month in, and you do 5 minutes of phone calling for 30 million. And the conversation went a bit weird because I had to explain him, yes, but the money I closed, it's not for free. That we have to pay money for it, and eventually we'll spend it on new housing. But he felt a bit weird about the situation, and the people around me was following this conversation. It went a bit awkward. So the next time I at least avoided this guy when talking to my banks. Yeah, that was the most weird thing in my career already 13 years ago.
Wow, very interesting. Always interesting because we don't know what we're going to get into every single day. So any day can be awkward or a little bit embarrassing because you don't know who you're going to have to talk to or pull in or who's on the other end of the phone. I found oftentimes. Okay, thank you for that. All right, next round, are we going to go back to a truth, or are we going to go for another dare?
Let's keep the dares. Let's do the fun.
All right. What movie is your guilty pleasure?
I don't have guilty pleasures. I like my fair share of science fiction. Not a. I can look at Star Trek and Star Wars, but I like the really weird and awkward science fiction, like where they make you think, like, could this be real? Something like The Matrix. Everybody knows that. I really like those. But maybe you also know this movie, and I really love that one, and it still keeps me going sometimes. It's called Inception.
Oh,
It's with
yes.
Leonardo DiCaprio, where
Yeah.
you enter into dreams,
Right.
and live in them and manipulate
Yeah.
them, but then later enter into layers of dreams within a dream, and it gets really awkward and a bit of over the top at the end. But at the end, there's a bit of a teaser, like, is even a reality a dream? Yes or no? And people are still discussing it, and not sure about it. Even though the writer of the book of the movie later said it's not. It's real. It's not a dream. But that made a big impact. That movie. I will watch that every year if I can.
I also enjoy that movie. I tried to watch all the Matrix movies. I'll be honest, I just got confused. I was like, I just don't know what's so it's kind of good that you're kind of figure out what's going on. And I'm just like, sometimes I'm trying to unplug and I'm like, okay, that's a lot to unplug. But thanks for sharing that with us. All right, let's do for you one more round and then I'll let you give me a dare. So let's do one more round with you. You want to do a truth or a dare?
Let's do another truth then.
How has investing within your department, company, and getting to know your peers impacted your career? So why is the social part of Treasury important and how has it benefited you to focus on that side of it?
Yeah, for me it's very important. Obviously, I'm an interim treasurer. I go from assignment to assignment. I always have a dot on the horizon where I might not have an assignment. In the beginning, I always got nervous, like, oh, I'm always without an assignment, but ended up always with a new one. So the fact that people knew me, it helped. Being visible, it helped. I think you wrote articles about it, Ernie. Be visible on LinkedIn. Build a brand, like
Right.
who is Patrick Kunz? What type of treasurer? What can he do? What does he know? What type of person is he? Is he always serious, always fun? At least can he do the job? I always act that way with a client as well. I have a certain role. I try to blend in as much as possible, that as if I'm a permanent employee. I can't always do that, especially if I'm project based. I always have a few haters within a company who say, "Oh, you're going to change up things. I don't like that. You're going to make me redundant. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to improve. And the time you have left, you can spend on better things instead of doing manual things." So I always try to keep a good positive impression that they call me back when they need me again, and that happened several times. But the same on LinkedIn, my online presence. I try to be as much Patrick Kunz as possible as I can be. Sometimes that means I'm very serious, write about treasury stuff, blogs, etc., articles. Sometimes just having fun on the internet, which is also important. Doing some mocking some people, or at least having some fun out there. So yeah, I think that's a good advice for every treasurer. Be out there. We're not visible enough within the company. We're also not visible enough of our own brand, building your Ernie or your Patrick brand.
I love it. Building your brand, and as you touched on, being authentic in your brand and also being consistent in your brand. So I've just been in a few conferences talking about the importance of building and managing your brand, and you've seen it. And I hope others are inspired to see the value in doing that. It just gets organic, and then people reach out to you and they embrace your brand. So you know you're doing it right. So thanks for sharing that with us. Okay, I know you've given this a lot of thought, so I'm gonna let you give me a dare.
Yeah, I thought about it. I asked my good friend ChatGPT as well
Oh,
if she can help, and then she knows a lot about me. I call it a she. Um, And she came up with a funny one, bit treasury related. Taught her a bit about you, you're extravagant, you want to be different, your boots, your jackets, your hats. So I'm going to make you do an impression, but of a treasurer in a very delicate cash flow situation.
who am I speaking? Who am I talking to about this?
I don't know. Let's talk to the CEO, CFO. You're the first one to notice that you're running out of cash and you're going bankrupt. Because that's how it goes. Treasury sees it first. CFO is still convinced that EBITDA pays salaries, but you don't have the cash anymore and you don't see it coming in.
Going in the conversation, before that, I have a personal relationship with I'll say CFO, and so first I want to kind of dial down the heat or kind of warm up the message. So I maybe I know he was training for a marathon. So I'm like, John, how's that training for your marathon going? Speaking of marathons, as you all know, we've seen some dynamics in our business, some expected, some unexpected. I need to talk to you about how we're going to deal with some potential liquidity issues that we have coming up and some options that we have to address those situations. So, first of all, identify some issues that we've been seeing in our pipeline. Do we understand the root causes? What are we going to do about those? And then what are the options that we have to go about them? We can borrow, we can maybe buy back some stock. And then this is how we're going to make sure that we don't have this issue in the future. So it's more of these are the options. This is a need to know thing. I would love to have your input in that. And I'm letting you know as soon as I found out, as early as possible, so we can work through this together.
Yeah. But the CEO is really like, don't worry, Ernie. It's fine. I'm seeing EBITDA figures. We're going through this. But cash is running out. You don't have backup lines.
I would say, John, I appreciate your insights. It's my job to worry, protect our assets. I'm the lifeblood of the company. I am really steeped in understanding the mechanics of how and why cash movements happen and when they're going to happen and why they're going to happen. I would rather have us be ready, and that'll give us business agility. So whether we're responding to cash flow needs, it also may free up cash flow because other dynamics in our industry are going to make people pause, and we have the ability to actually invest and take advantage of those opportunities. So I would ask that you trust my judgment and visibility that I have in this area of cash because I live it every day.
Being very polite, Ernie.
Yeah, I can be polite, but I can, do the other way. All right. Well, thank you, Chad GPT, for that interesting challenge. In my past CFO would be like, you didn't talk that way when you were worked for me. You would have stumbled around and not known what to say. So hopefully I've learned something over the years. Okay, let's get back to Patrick. Would you like to do another truth or maybe another dare?
Let's do another dare. Let's keep it fun.
There we go. All right. Share with us a mistake you've made in managing people across international borders and what you have learned from it.
Yeah, I had a team of 7, very international. Europeans were in there, Latin Americans, a few Asian people, and the Dutch guy. You know the way I am. I'm very outgoing. Work hard, play hard. Not necessarily in that order, and it can change during the day. If I see something fun and we can have fun during the day, I would prioritize that and let's do it. But I have to realize not all people are that way. Some people they are wired the way work is work and fun is at home. So I had to learn that not everybody appreciates the fact that I'm sometimes a clown or sometimes, let's have fun, guys. Even when I'm the manager. But because I'm the manager, they didn't tell me. The way Europeans, Latin Americans, they would tell me. The Asians, don't want to be generalizing, but that's how it works. They wouldn't say me, Patrick, you crossed the line. This was too much. You can't say this. I felt offended. So I only found out 2 or 3 months later that there was something I said, don't even realize what it was, that offended her. And I apologized. It was all good. I'm the first one to apologize. I don't feel I'm the manager. I want to come down to their level, and it was all good. And no hard feelings there. But it taught me sometimes not too much here. Come a bit down. A bit more balance between the over the top. Let's have fun, or the too much extravagance and outgoing. Sometimes a bit more serious. Yeah, that was that
I
situation.
can certainly identify with that. I think one of the things you mentioned was touched on by a previous guest of mine, in that in certain cultures they are taught not to say anything in a meeting to the boss, no matter what it is. They just don't do that. So, is there a way to kind of bridge that gap so they feel comfortable, or that information can make its way to you, right? Or they feel comfortable with that. But I know it's something that we're not really taught. So thank you for sharing that, and it's something everyone should keep in mind. Okay. All right, let's go for another round here with you, and then I'll let you hit me again with the dare. We're gonna have a truth or another dare.
Let's do it true, Ernie.
All right. So this is one of my passions. So I'd love to get your insights here, because I know you are an advocate for the Treasury profession. What are some of the things that we all can do better to support those newer to our profession? So my soapbox, treasurer. What can we do to support people that are wanting to get into the industry, or maybe they're only a treasury analyst right now?
The easy answer is help them, mentor them, but mentor them in a way that's helpful to them. Not tell them what to do.
Right.
Tell them how they can do it. How they can achieve things what they want to achieve. And to do that, ask them first, what do you want to achieve? Not all treasury analysts want to become head of treasuries. They might have other ambitions. So they need other advice, other help from you to achieve that. And you have 20, 30, 40 years of experience to help them, with examples, with just providing your network out there to them, to help them grow. I think that's the best advice for the younger generation. But also my advice to them: if you want something, ask. It's very stupid advice, but it helps you so much, because not asking, the answer is no, because you didn't
Right.
ask. Ask the CFO if you want something. Wow, Patrick, are you crazy? I can't ask the CFO. You know what? He might say yes. And the thing is, in 20, 30% of the cases, he does say yes. And then you are 5 steps ahead of your competition. So, and it helped me as well. Just go out there, ask somebody. Is it something ridiculous? Okay, the chance of getting a yes is low, but it's not 0%. So go out there and ask. It's my second advice.
What you kind of mentioned, you made me think of, I tell people, if your boss isn't there yet, get them interested in your professional development, get them to have some accountability. Like I said, let them know what you want to do. I did that 20 years ago. I asked CFO, what do you want me to do? I'll go back to school. I'll do whatever. And he didn't have an answer, but I kept asking him, because I want, you gotta raise your hand.
Exactly. And if he doesn't have a plan for you, that to be honest, that's on him as well. You also need to make sure that the younger generation
Yeah.
comes at least up to par to you. And I would stimulate them become better than me, because I would only love that. It's not a competition.
Yeah, I always preach people, take control of your career. No one's going to do it for you. So, right, have that control. And if you don't feel like you're going somewhere, then you might need to look elsewhere.
Exactly.
All right, I'm gonna let you give me another dare.
Yes. So let's talk about holidays, Ernie. You always have these nice, colorful shirts. So describe to me your dream holiday, but make it sound like a treasury project.
Treasury project. Okay, so we are going to wake up in the morning with Treasury Christmas. We're going to have presents under the tree. We're going to have a nice new laptop. It's going to have all the latest and greatest functionality. I can go on there and get my daily cash balances, and it's AI enabled, and I can ask it, what should I do? What do I need to do with my cash? What are my debt exposures? What are we going to do? And then we invite everyone in the whole company over to our house for this big dinner. We have some great food, and we have some drinks. We talk about life. We get to know each other. Then we talk about treasury, and then a little bit later we transfer. We do a little karaoke together. Have some fun, and later in the evening we invite our families around. So we have a great Christmas family experience in treasury. And then at the end of the night, they give me like 3 Christmas wishes for treasury, and I get to tell them 3 things I want for the treasury profession to have. I want the treasury profession to have respect, get the recognition they deserve, get the pay that they deserve, and have organizations and people love the treasury profession as much as I do.
Well done, Ernie. This wasn't an easy one. So
No, you
well
did a
done.
very good job. Okay, so let's go one more. Patrick, are you gonna close with a truth or a dare?
Let's close with the truth.
Okay, so I gotta ask you a similar question. I'm giving you 3 wishes to grant to the treasury profession. What are they?
Um, the respect we deserve, and that sounds more negative than it is, and it's a bit to blame on the treasurers themselves. Some of them don't take the stage they deserve. I talked to a treasurer a few weeks ago, and it was a one-man show, and he was a bit complaining to me. Yeah, if I go on holiday, I always take my laptop and can't take long holidays because it's on me. And I asked him, "Does your CFO know? Did you ever tell him this?" Yeah, I hinted, but I didn't really told. And I blamed him because I told him, you know what, you always make sure everything is covered. You do that on your time because you feel responsible. The rest of the organization, even your boss, CFO, doesn't know you feel this responsible. And by the way, this is a big risk. If you were hit by a car tomorrow, your CFO has a problem. So respect, take the stage that Treasury deserves. Definitely do that. Treasury is much more important than you think you are. Nobody payroll with EBITDAs. You do that with cash. So that one, and I would really love that even the finance people within the organization know what Treasury do. They often don't know. They have no idea what we do, which is astonishing to me. I'm too much into this Treasury detail to often realize that I sometimes have to take a step back and explain what Treasury does. Same goes back to university students. If you ask fourth-year finance students what they want to do, maybe 1 or 2% only says Treasury, if even. They all say either investment banking, because that sounds really cool. In practice, it's probably not. I can speak from experience. I thought the same. I went into investment banking for half a year after university, and it wasn't the shiny thing which I had in my head. Corporate treasury is not shiny at all. Nobody knows what they do, but it's much more fun being on the buy side. So that's my last wish, that students, universities have a better idea of how fun treasury can be, and they more often choose treasury as a career, and not. And I think you did a survey as well. Stumble into it,
Right.
and then fall in love with it. Okay, like that. But the first step, the stumbling into, that's where it goes wrong, really.
Thank you very much, Patrick, first of all, for being a guest, but also more importantly, all that you do to support the Treasury profession. So I really appreciate that. If you don't follow Patrick on LinkedIn, or which you should definitely check him out, you should also check out Treasury Masterminds. There's a lot of very interesting conversations going on in there. And in closing, to my listeners, have the courage to live your Treasury truths and dare to be great in everything that you do within and beyond Treasury. Until next time, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show. I hope you guys liked it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned and hit the subscribe button for more.